Shut up and sit down.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's December, and we are here for another episode of No One Asked Us. The college football playoffs have just been announced. We're excited to talk about them. We got Illinois basketball to talk about. This literally is my most favorite time of the year. Episode 44 of No One Asked Us. That's Craig Choate. I'm Logan Lee. Thank you for joining us on this ride. We are quickly approaching a full year of doing this, and we had to come up with something special to celebrate our year anniversary. Put a lot of pressure on the co-hosts to come up with this, but we'll figure something out. We're recording this on Sunday evening, early evening, Sunday, December 5th, and we'll have this episode out for you guys on Monday before Illinois basketball takes on Iowa. So we'll be doing some previewing of that matchup here in a little later. But Craig, how are you, man? How was your weekend? Go Suns! I see you haven't got off the Suns bandwagon, even though you're now full on into the Bulls. You want to care to comment, or
I like them both.
Oh, okay.
I like them both.
Okay.
They're both near the top of their division, so
okay.
So I like them right now.
Okay, that's wonderful. But yeah, it is December 5th as we record this. Don't forget to give us a follow at No One Asked Us Pod. He's at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. Shoot us an email at nooneaskedus2021@gmail.com. And as always, if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or whatever the case may be, chapter markers, they're in the description. Check those out if you want to jump around and listen to us talk about certain things and skip us talking about other things, because I'm sure there's plenty that we want to talk about today. How was your weekend, Craig? Anything exciting to report on? I mean, I guess it's still the weekend. We're not recording this on a Monday like we have been.
I really didn't leave the couch, so so it was perfect.
Good day of football yesterday, huh?
Yeah, Friday night was Illini, and all day Saturday was college football with some Saluki basketball and some Illinois volleyball and some Louisville volleyball. So yeah, I didn't leave the couch, and I was my remote thumb was working really hard, flipping back and forth.
Before we get too much further, would you like to talk about your trip to Evansville this past week to watch some Saluki basketball? Yeah, it was. Was that going to be your moment of the week? Or
it was not? No, it was not. It was a lot closer than I wanted it to be. The game. We got out of Louisville just in time. It's about a 2-hour drive. So we got out right at 5:00 on Wednesday night. Made it to Evansville, and front row seats behind the Saluki bench for the high price of $12 at the Ford Arena in Evansville. Not many people there, so not surprised about that. But yeah, SIU won on a not really a buzzer beater because there was 0.6 seconds left, but Marcus Damask hit a fadeaway baseline jumper pretty much right in front of where we were sitting, right in front of the Saluki bench. And yeah, got to see the Dogs pull out a W.
You did share the reaction that we were able to see from that camera to pick you out of the stands. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people there.
No. If you look up the buzzer beater from the ESPN3 angle and you look right above the rim, I was sitting right above the rim. You can see me do a little excited hop fist pump at the same time. It was not very athletic.
That's wonderful. I've not seen the last Saluki basketball game I would have saw in person. It's not been that long ago. It's probably been 2 or 3 years. Went to Valparaiso to watch a game. But yeah, that's exciting. Glad you're able to go. That's a nice arena. In Evansville. That's is it the Ford Center? Is that what it's called?
Ford Center, Ford Arena, something like that.
Yeah, right there downtown. That's really nice.
It was both of our first time ever in Evansville, period. So
yeah, that's a nice place. Well, happy for you. Glad you got to go over and see that. Go Dogs. They picked up another win yesterday against Southern Miss. So a good couple games for the Salukis. You want to touch on your moment of the week? You have a good one for us?
Yeah, I touched on it when I was talking about my weekend. Shout out to Illini volleyball. Going unseeded going into the tournament. They got a bid to the NCAA tournament, but they did not host, and the top 16 seeds host. So got sent down here to Kentucky, to Lexington, and they knock off West Virginia. Then they defeat the reigning national champions, Kentucky, in the second round to advance to the Sweet 16. Christy, I think at this point in the season, is footballed out. So anytime I turn on something other than football, she gets really into it. And so we turned on Illinois volleyball on the big TV, and we were both pretty excited to see they dominated Kentucky. I don't know if you watched or saw the scores, but Illinois won the first set. Kentucky did win the second set, and then Illinois dominated the third and fourth to win it 3-1. They looked really, really, really good. So shout out to them. 6th Sweet 16 appearance in the last 10 years, I think.
They always just seem to find a way.
Yeah, exactly. They missed the tournament last year. It was condensed down to 32 teams, and they didn't get selected last year, so they didn't get in. But it just seems like every time that they have a chance, they do their best and they make a run, which is awesome. So props to them.
Would you say the U of I is a volleyball school, or is it a golf school, or
it's I don't
is
know.
Is it a John Davis
is.
school? What is U of I right now? If
I think right now
it's a blank school.
I think
or
it's
is it still just like an engineering
right
school or something?
No, I think it's a basketball school right now.
I think so.
I think it's
even though the Illini are currently unranked.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. I don't know what it is. And when I lived there and covered every sport, we always joked that every sport at the U of I was outstanding, except for the two ones that pull in the money and get the notoriety, men's basketball and football. Those were the two that were falling behind, and every other sport there is great. But so yeah,
that happens. Did you happen to see, switching gears to my moment of the week, did you happen to see this story about this high school basketball team from Michigan that got on a FaceTime with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah,
this was a pretty fun story. So for those of you that didn't see this, basically this high school basketball team, I think it was like a freshman team or something, in Pontiac, Michigan. Basically, somebody had started a group text thread with their teammates. And one of the numbers that they entered for a teammate, they entered in a wrong digit. So instead of talking to the teammate they thought they were going to be talking to, they ended up texting Buccaneers cornerback Sean Murphy Bunting, who is actually from that general area, I believe. Okay. I believe that's why the digit mix-up happened, was he's from the area. So they just happened to text this Bucks player while he's in the locker room. And so the guy, he's texting back and forth with these kids. They think he's their fellow teammate, just messing with them and all this stuff. Well, then they get him on a FaceTime because he's trying to prove to him that that's who he is. And then, so while they're sitting there talking to this guy, they don't know probably who he is necessarily, but then he's in the locker room. So what does he do? He hands the phone off to Leonard Fournette. And then he hands the phone off to Richard Sherman. And the FaceTime is just like these kids, you can see his screenshots are just like they're just in awe, like what is happening right now. And then of course, after a while, it gets into the hands of Tom Brady, and you could just see the faces on these kids. They're just in total shock that this is happening. It was just a really cool story. I retweeted the thread earlier this week. It was one of the kids' dad that had tweeted it out, and he got a lot of attention for that. I just feel bad for the kid that who has the number got switched.
Yeah,
missed the entire thing.
I didn't think of that, but yes, that's very true.
I feel bad for that kid, but yeah, that was a pretty cool story. I just saw that this week and thought it was just kind of fun. You could see the screenshots of the kids, and one of them, most of them, like that, you can't really see most of their faces, but the one kid is just like, I mean, he's just like in total shock. It's hilarious. So that's a cool story. If you haven't seen that, check it out. You can just Google Michigan high school basketball and Tampa Bay Bucks or something. You'll find it. But that was pretty cool. Let's move to our question of the week. And this is going to transition us into the world of college football, which is what we're going to kick off with this week. So last week, our question of the week, we polled the audience because we were in the middle of this big coaching carousel.
Still are.
Well, correct. We still are, but that was really where the whole thing kicked off, with Lincoln Riley going to USC and then Brian Kelly going to LSU. So we asked the audience, what is the better college football coaching job? And we gave the options of USC, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and LSU, because those were the four that were, involved at the moment. And I think it's a fair question. I think they are both, I think all four of them are known as, top programs in college football, brand names in the sport. So I think it's a fair question to ask. We did not give our answers personally in this conversation because we wanted to save it for this. But the results, I do have them pulled up. USC did end up pulling away here. It was close for a while with USC and LSU. USC received 39% of the votes. LSU finished 28. And then Notre Dame only had 17.1 and Oklahoma with 15.9. So thank you to the 82 people that have voted for this so far. There's still some time, but I think the results are pretty straightforward. So are you surprised here? Do you think in your opinion, is USC the better of those four jobs?
Yeah, I said last week, I think there's a clear and obvious one, and I think it's USC.
I agree.
I think it's I don't want to say far and away, because LSU is a good job, but I think being in the SEC is as good as it is, because it's the best conference. It's a lot harder to win at LSU than it is at any of the other three other three schools. So if I'm a head coach and I have those four options, I'm going to USC every day of the week.
Well, and I agree with that. And up to this point, for your argument, I think Oklahoma would fit into that conversation too. But now that Oklahoma is also going to the SEC, they're in that same conversation now with LSU. So I agree with you. I do believe it's USC. And as we said, about 40% of the voters agreed with us as well. Listen, the Pac-12 isn't great, but it's still a power conference. And you're in Southern California, which is a gold mine for college football players, quarterbacks especially. Some of the best quarterbacks in all of football right now are all from Southern California, or at least the state of California. You can recruit an entire team there without ever getting on a plane.
Yep.
That's not the case at Notre Dame. I mean, Brian Kelly, when he was here, and now Marcus Freeman they have to go everywhere. They're not getting kids from Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. I mean, they have to go to those places to recruit them. Yes, Notre Dame is a very powerful national brand, but I don't think that does not mean it's the better job. I do think, but of those four, I do believe USC is the better job. It's Southern California. That's where everybody wants to be. It's the beach. It's the sunshine. It's 80 degrees in December. I mean, that's where you want to be. So yes, I agree with you. I agree with the people. USC is, of those four, is the best option in terms of coaching job.
I mean, did you see the contract that Lincoln Riley got? It's kind of, you can't. No one's going to top that. Yeah, and like you said, being in Southern California, that in itself, I think makes it number one. It's Southern California, and that's even before you put the money on the table. I mean, when you involve the fact that they're getting paid how much and how many years, of course. But if you're not including the money as part of this conversation, I think even at that point, it's still USC, because it's the Pac-12. It's going to be a power conference, even if not everybody's very good. And you got a shot to make the playoff every darn year there. If you're cranking them out like he has been at Oklahoma. So that is the results from last week. Thank you to everybody that participated in that. We will have a college football related question of the week as well, but I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. Teaser. We're going to go out of order here. Okay.
We're going to go a little out of order because I want to include that as a part of a future conversation. Okay. Since it is my show this week, I can do whatever the hell I want. I mentioned his name, Marcus Freeman. He is the new head coach at Notre Dame. That was announced on their Twitter page on Friday, and they will make it official in a press conference tomorrow here in South Bend on campus. I've heard a lot of mixed reactions from people locally on that, which doesn't surprise me. A lot of people are excited about it. If you've seen the video on Twitter, I don't see how you couldn't be excited about that. I'm sure you probably want to run through a wall after you watch that video of him running into that room and seeing the players' reaction to him. The players seem to love the guy. So for that standpoint, in terms of carrying what they have right now, short term, I think it makes a lot of sense. Is it the best pick long term? I have no idea. I know Marcus Freeman was, heavily in the mix for the Illinois coaching job, and, he was going to be a head coach sooner rather than later. So it just happens to be that it's going to be at Notre Dame. So good for him. The coaching carousel, at least for that standpoint, has come to an end. There are obviously still more vacancies out there, including Oklahoma. But
while we were just recording here, there's a lot of talk on Twitter that Brett Venables has told Clemson that he is leaving for Oklahoma.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense.
Sports director from, I'm assuming, Columbia, Missouri, Mike Gillespie, just 22 minutes ago. According to a source today, Brett Venables met with his players at 2 p.m. and told them he was leaving for Oklahoma. So,
okay, well, there you go.
Not confirmed by Oklahoma or Clemson or any party involved, but there's a report there that Oklahoma has their guy, and that's a name that I think immediately heard could potentially take that job. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. He's the defensive coordinator at Clemson.
Yeah, he's won the Broyles Award like 5 times for nation's best coordinator. And then you also got this whole Cristobal stuff.
Yeah,
Mario Cristobal reportedly is going to Miami, but Miami hasn't even fired Manny Diaz, and Manny Diaz is out recruiting for Miami with his assistants right now as we speak. And Cristobal played Friday night, and that's just a cluster. What's going on there? That's a bad.
Looks like a mess to me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. This whole coaching carousel, we talked about it last week. Right now, I think the timing, as you talked about, is with the signing day window and everything. I think that's playing a factor in some of this. I think that needs to be adjusted. I think that is a large part of why Brian Kelly looks so bad. I mean, then he also went there and acted like he was, from the South. I don't want to get into that whole thing.
I didn't hear that much of a Southern accent.
I don't think it was as ridiculous as what people were making it out to be.
It was way too. People made it way too big of a deal. I think
I know
there was one word in there. He said family weird.
The family thing.
He put a twang on family, but to me, it sounded like he started to say something else, or he he said the wrong word and he corrected it to family, which made it sound like a Southern accent. I don't think he was putting on a Southern accent.
I'm with you. I don't think it was quite as what some people are making it out to be.
Still don't think he's a great fit at LSU, though.
No, I don't. And I don't either. And I think he's just still the center of a lot of controversy right now for a variety of reasons, but whatever. So that's where we are with that. Anything else in terms of coaching that we need to discuss? There's a basketball coaching thing, but we'll talk about that a little later on.
Yeah, I think that's it with football.
So let's just move into yesterday then. I guess yesterday and Friday we had the championship weekend throughout the FBS. Some surprises, some not. We'll just go in. I'm just going to run through some of these outcomes here real quick, and then we can kind of dissect what this means going forward. So the MAC, Northern Illinois, who I don't think had a single win last year, right? Turns around and wins the MAC conference this year. Beating Kent State 41-23. UTSA bounced back from their loss last week. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago that they lost to?
I think it was last week.
Last week.
I think.
Whatever. They bounced back, beating Western Kentucky for the Conference USA title, 49-41. It was close, but they got it. Utah State beat San Diego State 46-13. Louisiana beat Appalachian State 24-16. And then the power ones. Cincinnati over Houston by 15 points, 35-20. Utah beating Oregon for the second time this season by a lot, both times, 38-10. Did Utah score 38 points both times? Was it? I think it was like 38-7
Maybe.
and 38-10. It was close. I mean, it was a blowout both times. So Utah will be playing for a NY6 Bowl as the Pac-12 champion. Who won that Pittsburgh Wake Forest game?
Pitt beat Wake.
Was it Pitt?
I didn't get to say
this wasn't
the scores in there.
I forgot about that.
45-21
last night. Okay, yeah, 45-21 Pittsburgh in the ACC, and then Baylor over Oklahoma State in the Big 12. I did not see the end of that. I saw it later. When I checked the score, I was out and about yesterday morning during that game. So when I checked the score, Baylor was up at least a couple of touchdowns.
Yep.
And then
21-3.
I see later that that Oklahoma State was inches away from winning that game. So that was disheartening for Oklahoma State because they might have had a shot in the playoff had they won that. So they lost to Baylor 21-16. Michigan beat Iowa last night in the Big Ten championship. What was the final of that one?
42-3.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Was it really that bad?
Yes.
I was watching. I had that game on the whole time, and I just stopped paying attention. So yeah, Michigan's crushed Iowa. I talked to my dad on the phone Friday, and he was driving from Champaign or something, and he said that he had just passed a bunch of Iowa flags on 74 on the way to Indianapolis. So yeah, Michigan
a good drive home.
Yeah, Michigan destroyed Iowa. Thanks for coming out. And then the big. I mean, it's a surprise. I mean, I know. Yeah. It's hard to say it's a surprise when it's Alabama, but I think a lot of people were expecting the opposite result here. But Alabama over Georgia in the SEC championship, 41-24. So that sets up the college football playoff, which was just announced just a few hours ago. The four teams really weren't a surprise after the results. It was basically just a matter of what the order was going to be. And I think this order probably makes the most sense. Yeah. Alabama is the 1, Michigan's the 2. Georgia's the 3 and Cincinnati's the 4, and then Notre Dame and Ohio State were 5 and 6. So the semifinals will be Alabama versus Cincinnati and Michigan versus Georgia. I certainly could have think you could have made arguments for Michigan or Alabama to be number 1, and you could have made arguments for Georgia or Cincinnati to be 3 and 4. It was basically they weren't going to put Alabama and Georgia up against each other in the semifinal. So regardless of whatever it was going to be, it was most likely always going to be whatever the seeds were, Alabama versus Cincinnati and Michigan versus Georgia, which is what we're getting. So Alabama and Cincinnati will be the Cotton Bowl game. Michigan and Georgia will be the Orange Bowl. Any surprise there? Did you have any reactions yesterday? I mean, Alabama was the big thing. Unfortunately, so in terms of Notre Dame, I mean, they needed Oklahoma State to lose, and then they also needed at least one of those other teams to lose, and none of them did. So that pretty much shut the door for them. Baylor, you thought I was kind of surprised when I saw Ohio State at 6 and not Baylor, personally, but either way, it really doesn't matter at this point. But yeah, so those are going to be the 4 teams in the playoffs. Happy for Cincinnati. We've talked about it a lot. I didn't think it would happen. I honestly didn't. And I knew a lot of things needed to happen for it too. And it worked. They lucked out though. I think that a couple of those other teams fell apart. But I'm happy for them. I have no idea what they're going to do against Alabama. I've seen Alabama play like the best team in the country, and I've seen them struggle at times. So I'm happy Cincinnati's there. It's the first time that this has ever happened where a non-Power 5 school is going to be in one of the 4 teams in the playoffs. It's great. I think we're finally to this point. We've been saying it. I don't know if you've followed any. I know the Ringer, Roger Sherman at the Ringer has been touting this for a while, but when they got rid of the BCS, they ran this ad campaign on ESPN with all these actors as fans from these non-Power 5 schools. So they had fans from Boise State and TCU at the time and all these other ones. And Cincinnati was one of them. And the whole thing was now they can't keep us out. Now there's no computer to keep us out or whatever, but yet count year in and year out, they have kept these schools out. The UCFs of the world, the Western Michigans of the world, these teams that have finished undefeated, but never got a shot at it. And we finally get one now. So do they deserve to be there? I don't know. They're undefeated. They beat Notre Dame, who's number 5. So it's hard to argue against it, but I think it's great that we're here. You're looking at me in either confusion or a disagreement or what?
I don't think there's ever been a group of 5 team that's deserved to be in the top 4 until now.
No, I don't either.
So you're saying just because they were undefeated, they should have been at least given a chance?
I just believe that they should have a chance, period.
Okay.
That's why, that's the whole problem with the 14 playoff to begin with.
Right.
This is just an ESPN invitational tournament, selected by 13 random people from major universities. That's a whole different conversation for a different day. No, if they were the way it's set up now, no, this is the first time that probably any of those schools have deserved to be there.
Okay.
Sorry. Shaking everything right now.
Logan's rattled.
No, I'm not.
He's very passionate about this topic. If you haven't been able to tell over the last 6 episodes, Logan is very passionate about the college football playoff. And
I don't even care that much about college football. I just think the whole thing's ridiculous. Regardless, Cincinnati's in the playoff. We still have Alabama and Georgia. We still have 2 SEC teams, but we don't have Ohio State. We don't have Oklahoma. We don't have Clemson. 3 of the teams that have really dominated the playoff the last few years. So it's going to be good. It's nice to see Michigan in there, a different Big Ten school.
I think Michigan wins it all, man.
You do?
I do.
I don't think you were that high on them a couple of weeks ago. What has changed?
So I was very high on them up until I forgot what game it was. I remember on this show, I said multiple times, I think Michigan's back. I think Michigan's really good. And then there was one week that I actually started to do a little more research on them, and I saw that they hadn't really played anybody. And the one team they played was Michigan State, and they blew it and they lost. I was like, okay, maybe they're not that good. They haven't really beaten anybody. But the last 2 weeks, I've actually watched their games from start to finish, and this team is legit. That defense, that defensive line
is good.
Is the best I've seen this season. So I think they got a great shot. And I was not impressed with Georgia's offense yesterday. Their quarterback is they need to hit the transfer portal for a quarterback, because I don't think they have a good quarterback to win SEC games. So I'm taking Michigan.
They just won most of their SEC games.
Championships.
They didn't lose until Alabama,
because their defense scored 2 touchdowns a game.
Okay. Either way, Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, and Georgia are the 4 teams playing in the college football playoff. So that will be our question.
Did you see my tweet yesterday?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Did you see my tweet yesterday about halftime?
I don't know.
Saban?
You tweet a lot.
I was like, Nick Saban knew all season that he had the best college football team. And he just played it down, and they lost to Texas A&M, and they just kind of skated by. He just didn't want the whole Alabama's too good narrative to keep going. And then it got to the SEC championship. He made sure they got to the championship, and then they got to the championship, and he just blows the doors off the number 1 team in the country. The best part of was the Owen Wilson gif. You sandbagging son of a bitch. I love that line, that movie. I love that movie.
Nick Saban. Yes. Yep.
He knew it all
just
season.
Usually it's how it works. It's Alabama. I know we were all kind of doubting them against Georgia. We were kind of rooting for chaos. We were rooting for a different team to kind of pop in there. But Alabama proved us wrong again. So there they are in the playoff. That leads to our question of the week this week. Okay. Who is going to be the college football playoff champion? Your 4 options, of course, are Alabama, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Georgia. Craig has already given us his answer. We are several weeks away from this playoff actually happening. So it's not going to a lot that's going to change or whatever. But yeah, that's going to be the question of the week this week. Who wins the college football playoff? Again, Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, or Georgia will be your 4 choices. Those semifinal games will be on New Year's Eve, I believe. 31st.
Yes.
And then the championship game will be about a week later. So sticking with bowl games, the other NY6 Bowls that were announced earlier today, real quick, Michigan State and Pittsburgh. Pitt, who won the ACC, will play in the Peach Bowl. That's on the 30th, I think. And then the other 3 are on the 31st. Is that correct?
First, I think.
Or the 1st. I don't remember. I looked at the dates earlier, and now I've lost them all. Let me pull that up again, because I don't want to.
I'm 99% sure the other 3 are on the 1st.
The semifinals are on the 31st. Yes, the Peach Bowl is the 30th, and these other 3 are on the 1st. So Notre Dame, Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State and Utah in the Rose Bowl, and Baylor and Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Those 3 are all on New Year's Day, January 1st.
How awesome would it be if the winner of each of those games continued to play until there was only one team left. How cool would that be?
That is a strange concept, Craig. I've never thought about that.
Right?
It's almost like it's like a playoff. It'd be like an expanded version of what they already have as the playoff.
Yeah.
Huh.
But more teams have a chance.
Huh. That's so crazy. If only there was a way we could do that.
Who do we need to talk to?
I don't know. I read Andy Staples' piece from The Athletic last night about it, and he was basically saying that, all these conferences had their own opinions as to what they wanted to do. And he just let Greg Sankey, all of them just let Greg Sankey and the SEC just get another 2 teams in the playoff. So you're likely, I don't want to say likely, but there's a good chance you're looking at another all SEC national championship game coming up in January. Yeah. So I don't know. They need to do it. I think they've already, the ship has already sailed on 2023. They might be looking at 2024. You and I did talk about what a 12-team playoff would look like last night. I don't know if I have that pulled up or anything. Do you want to talk about that real quick, just for fun?
Yeah, my proposal, if you will, is you still do the rankings like they do every week, but the top 5 seeds are the Power 5 champs, and there's always a guaranteed group of 5 team. So this year it would be Cincinnati, but if Cincinnati had lost a game and they were like 16 in the rankings, they would get that 12 seed. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
They would be the lowest. So that's my philosophy. And
I agree with
that
you.
Way the championship game still means something. So under that, you would have had Alabama 1, Michigan 2, Baylor 3, Utah 4, Pitt 5. So Pitt doesn't get the bye, but they get the 5 seed, so they get the lowest ranked team, which would be Michigan State. And then you had Georgia at 6, Cincinnati was the 7, Notre Dame 8, Ohio State 9, Ole Miss 10, I think, Oklahoma State 11, something like that. So that was your 12 under mine and how the seeding would work. I know yours is a little bit different.
I agree with you. That wasn't it. My thing is, I don't think it should just be the group of 5 as the top 5. I think it should just be the top 5 conference champions. So in this case, Cincinnati would be one of those 5 and Pitt wouldn't, or whatever, or Utah wouldn't. I don't know. It doesn't really matter how you'd seed it. But I don't know what they'll do, but personally, like, how often does that ever happen? It would hardly ever happen. This is like the first year something like that would ever happen. So I think it should just be the top 4 seeds are the top highest rated conference champions. Regardless of what conference they are in.
Is just so everyone at large.
If Northern Illinois finishes the season as number 3, they would be the number 3 seed if they assuming they win their conference championship. So either way, it's a 12-team playoff. I would love to see it, hopefully sooner rather than later. Who knows if we will. It only makes so much sense to most everybody, except for the people that make those decisions. Let's do our picks of the week from last week real quick, just to kind of recap. There's only one game this coming week, so that we'll pick. But Craig made some you kind of started a little comeback on me. I didn't have a good week this week.
You had a bad week.
Had a bad week. I came into this week with a pretty good sized lead on Craig, and I only went 4-7 in championship weekend. Craig went 7-4. So now he's at 129-65. I'm at 136-53. So I still have a 7-game lead on him. But you're closing in on me. I'm assuming we'll do something for bowl games and obviously the playoff coming up, but that won't be for another few weeks. So one game this week that we will do, the Army-Navy game this Saturday on CBS. Army is 8-4 on the season. Navy's not very good. They're 3-9. You want to go ahead and make that pick right now? Who you got?
I hate this cliche, but this is one of those throw the records out the window type of games. It's Army. Sure. Like, it's the biggest, one of, if not the biggest rivalry in college football. But with that being said, I think the records have something to do with it. So I am going to take Army.
Oh, okay.
I am going to pick Army.
Okay. I will pick Army as well. I gotta work on holding my lead here, and I do believe that's a safer bet. So Army Navy, 3:00 Eastern on CBS on Saturday. That's the only game this week. We will continue to do picks throughout bowl season and then into the NY6 Bowls and the college football playoff. The U of I, Illinois, does not make a bowl this year, as we talked about last week, finishing with only 5 wins. I do have the whole list of bowl games coming up, but I don't think there's really anything of note that we really need to talk about.
No.
A few Big Ten teams obviously are going to get in. Kentucky and Iowa playing in the Citrus Bowl at Camping World Stadium. That's probably the only one of note that I thought might be at least somewhat interesting. But yes, Illinois football does not make a bowl this year. And then the only other news that they really have this week, tight end Daniel Barker decided to declare for the NFL draft. Were you surprised?
I was a little bit. And
sorry, why is that?
Hold on. I'm going on Twitter. I'm not. I just don't know that he's. I don't think he's going to get drafted. I'll just say that. I don't know that, and I'm no talent evaluator or anything like that, but I just don't know that he'll get drafted. So that's why I thought that. But at the same time, if he wants to go to the draft, more power to him. It'll care for the draft if you want to. I hope you do get drafted. I know I think he's caught the most touchdowns of any tight end in Illinois history. I'm pretty sure that's a stat. So he had a great career at Illinois, under some, I don't want to say sketchy circumstances, but at a time when Illinois football wasn't very good. He had a great career. I mean, everyone will remember him for his multiple celebration penalties. And anytime he caught a touchdown, he liked to have fun with it. He caught the game-winning touchdown at Michigan State, the comeback at Michigan State. So good luck to him. I hope he does well. I really do. But it did kind of catch me a little bit as a surprise.
I was a little surprised as well. But he will still have the option to return if he chooses, but that's probably not likely. Played in 44 games at Illinois, had 64 total receptions, over 800 yards and 11 touchdowns for his time with the Illini. So that was really the only big Illini football news this week.
I think because of that, I think Luke Ford really needs to come back.
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't come back, the tight end room is very below average. So
they need some help. The defense we talked about looks pretty solid going into next year, but the offense definitely is going to need some work. And now that's another position that will need some assistance. All right, moving on from football. I think we talked about football plenty, and we'll have plenty more to talk about here in a few weeks with the Bowls. But Illinois basketball played on Friday night and looked a hell of a lot better than what they have. Granted, Rutgers is not very good.
No.
And they were also playing without Geo Baker.
Yep.
Still had Ron Harper, still had Mulcahy, but they're not very good.
No.
And Illinois flat out dominated that game from really about the 7-minute mark left. I mean, 7 minutes in really to the game. There was just the first couple, I don't know, maybe the first 10 or so minutes was kind of a little back and forth, but I remember at one point saying out loud, okay, this is over. And that was at like the halfway mark in the first half. So I thought I might have been a little cocky at that point. But I was not. It ended up being the case. Illinois over Rutgers on Friday night and in Champaign, 86-51. You know what? I really should have had the stats pulled up from that game, and I don't. I know Kofi. Oh, you have him. Great. I know Kofi only had 15 points or 14 points or something like that. So
that's what I was going to say.
His scoring average has gone down a little bit for that, but still had, double, I believe. And, but the thing that we've harped on about him being an absolute vacuum when the ball comes to him and it never going back out, he's actually like passing the ball. When the ball comes to him, and if he can't get in position, he's facilitating from the post. So that's good to see. Even if he's not scoring 25 points, he's doing some other things too.
Yeah. The broadcast and even Underwood, I think after the game, he only had 2 assists, but if basketball kept assists like hockey keeps assists, he has a ton of hockey assists because they collapse on him. He kicks it out to whoever, and like 3 guys run to that person, and then that person kicks it to another person who hits the shot. So he only had 2 assists, but if you count hockey assists, he probably had 8. He did only have 13 points, 15 rebounds though as well, which is more than triple the amount that anybody else got. Yeah. The next highest is 5 rebounds. So he dominated the glass.
Couple blocks too.
Yeah. Going into the season, who would you think, or who did you expect to be the top 3 scorers?
Well, Kofi and Trent for sure.
Yes. Okay. So that's good enough to prove my point.
Would have been my top 2.
That's good enough.
I don't know who I would have said be third, but go on.
Because
it's not Trent.
Trent only had 6. DeMonte only had 6. And Kofi had 13, which if you see that scoring number from Kofi and Trent and DeMonte, you'd be like, oh gosh, Illinois got beat by 20. Well, they won by 35 with those stat lines, which that's the most comforting thing. Plummer has 24. Grandison goes for 16. Hawkins has 9. The Goody had 6. Like, it was just the role players played really well, and it looked like a complete team.
Yep. Jacob Grandison and Alfonso Plummer are shooting the cover off the basketball. I mean, it's wonderful to see that right now. I was a little worried about Plummer those first couple of games, but he only went
3 for 8 on Friday. He didn't.
I know. But he's doing other things. He's getting to the basket. He's showing us he's more than just a spot up shooter.
Friday was the first time where they were really, really coming at him hard on the arc, and he would shot fake and one dribble, IO, pull up mid range, or drive to the hole, which he said in the post game that he expected teams to start doing. So he had to adjust, and he did. Which Alfonso Plummer is the transfer of the year right now. He has scored 20 plus points in 4 straight games. Whew.
Shoots a lot of free throws, makes a lot of free throws.
I don't want to jinx it. He hasn't missed a free throw all season.
Okay, well, I didn't say that. You did. But regardless, he's been a pleasant surprise. To answer your question, who I would have said would be the top 3 scorers, I mean, it's hard for me to say I wouldn't have picked Curbelo, but I don't know that I would have been super.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about him.
Well, we'll get to him in a minute. I don't know that I would have been super confident on that. Just knowing the background of Plummer, I probably would have considered him to answer your question as the third.
I would have said Grandison
leading scorer, but yes, Grandison would have been in that conversation too, for sure.
Yeah. So also, Curbelo was out of this game as well, and Hutcherson only played 4 minutes. So
what was up with Hutcherson? I thought if he wasn't going to play, he wasn't going to play, and then he just shows up at the end for garbage time minutes. So
I think he was one of the guys coming off the sickness. So he was cleared to play, but I don't think he was probably not fully up to speed. So they just
the rotations have just been weird because against Notre Dame, RJ Melendez started.
Yeah.
Had a great game. He doesn't touch the floor until garbage time this game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The rotations have been a little wacky here with some inconsistencies in terms of who's playing, who's not. The Curbelo thing is still a conundrum. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on there other than people inside the team. Mainly Curbelo himself. He got the concussion early. I believe it was an exhibition game. He got the concussion and then played in. He missed the first regular season game. Played in the second. Looked okay. Then the third game was Marquette, which he looked terrible. Then he played against Cincinnati. Didn't look as bad as Marquette, but didn't look good. And then he would have played against Kansas State.
That's the game
has he
that
played since?
I think that's no, he has not played since, but I think Kansas State's the game that he was like on and off the court, right?
Yes. Yep. And
Late in the game, he
was icing his head or whatever. So everybody thought it was still something concussion maybe related.
Yep.
But we don't really know what's going on with him now. Either way, he has been out for a few games now. Hopefully he comes back soon. I know you asked me the question, and I'm sure you were joking when you asked it. In terms of whether or not the team needs Andre Curbelo. No, they did not need him on Friday night. But I am confident in saying that this team will need Andre Curbelo when Big Ten play really starts to pick up. In fact, I think they might struggle on Saturday if they don't have Andre Curbelo. They might struggle anyway against Arizona. But I think they're going to need him back sooner rather than later. Trent is okay as a league guard. He can do it. It's not really his strength. But more importantly, behind him, there's not a lot of options. So in terms of ball handling and getting the ball across the floor and initiating the offense, there's not a lot of choices there past Trent. I've seen Plummer do it a little bit now. Looks a little bit more comfortable doing it. I know DeMonte's done it. They've tried it with Hutcherson a little bit, but even his minutes have been a little stagnant because of his illness. So they will need Curbelo to come back, but they also want him to come back when he's ready to come back. And again, I don't know what's going on. I have to assume, and you and I have talked about this, probably something mental. Whatever the case, hope he's able to come back strong, because this team's really going to need him soon, very soon, because this season, the heart of the season is really going to start to pick up here. As we talked about Arizona coming up, one more Big Ten game, which we will preview here in a second, Monday tonight as the show's coming out. And then we have Arizona, you have Missouri, you got a couple of smaller games, and then the Big Ten season picks up in January. So don't know how much longer he's going to be on the bench, but definitely it'll be nice to see him back into the lineup playing the way people expect him to play.
Yeah, it's one of those things that he's in a situation that you don't bring him back until you know he's ready.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you don't want to bring him back and then the same thing happen and then he gets whatever's happening. Don't want to speculate, but just make sure that he's ready to play before you put him on the court, because we can't have the Curbelo that we had those 3 games and expect to make a run in the Big Ten.
Yep. Especially the Marquette version of him. Because that was not good. So yes, tonight, as the show comes out on Monday night, Illinois takes on Iowa. They go to Iowa City to battle the Hawkeyes. Iowa suffered their first loss of the season on Friday, I believe, to Purdue, number 2 ranked, probably number 1 ranked Purdue, 77-70. Prior to that, they hadn't really played much of anybody other than Virginia. But they hadn't lost yet prior to that point. I was looking pretty good. Again, they're not better than Purdue, and I don't think they're top tier Big Ten, but Keegan Murray's the real deal. I mean, he's definitely somebody we didn't really talk about him much preseason. I don't think he was really on either of our radars. There were so many other good 4 or 5s in this conference that we didn't really even think about him. But I mean, he's looking legit. He's about 25 points per game for them. And you still have, Jordan Bohannon and other players around him that can score the basketball too. So going to Iowa is always a challenge. I don't expect this to be an easy game for Illinois whatsoever. Hardly anybody in the conference can really battle with Kofi, but if there's any struggles there, I mean, this team's, I don't know, they're prone to falter here. So any expectations for Monday night against the Hawkeyes?
Trent Frazier and DeMonte Williams have never won at Iowa. So Illinois has not won at Iowa since I don't know when. I didn't go back and look that up. But Keegan Murray did miss the Purdue game on Friday. He did not play with an ankle injury. Underwood did his day before game press conference. He said that he expects Murray to play. So they're planning to go against him because the report was he was day-to-day and hoping to be back for the game on Monday. I hope he's not personally, but I hope he gets healthy, but I hope he's healthy on Tuesday and not on Monday. I don't expect a win. I'm going to be completely honest. I expect an Iowa win just because Illinois does not play well there. Iowa does have Bohannon back. They have a couple of the McCaffreys, Patrick and I don't know the other Connor McCaffrey.
Yeah.
They got Murray. Murray's brother is on the team as well. Joe Toussaint is a great point guard. So Trent's going to really have to be on his game and hope he's feeling good to keep him in front of him and not let him get by and dish when he gets into the lane. So I'm not expecting a win, but I'm expecting it to be close. I am expecting it to be close. They don't have Garza down there to contain Kofi anymore. Although Kofi did kind of take care of his own business against Garza a couple times. So not too much to worry about, but their bigs aren't Luka Garza anymore. So can Illinois win? Of course. I think Illinois can win any game in the Big Ten this year if they play how they need to play. Will they win? I'm not so sure.
So yeah, that is Monday night's game. It'll be the second Big Ten game of the season. Illinois, Iowa, 7:00 Eastern time, Monday night on FS1 in Iowa City. The second game of the week will be Saturday as Illinois returns home and hosts currently number 11 ranked Arizona. Craig will be in town for this. I know he's excited to see this. You're wearing, I didn't even think about it. You're wearing your Sun shirt. So maybe you picked the wrong week to show your allegiance to the state of Arizona. But yes, Arizona comes to town on Saturday. Personally, I don't know a ton about Arizona. I know they're good. I know they have size. Who did they play the other day that you were texting me that you were watching? Didn't you text me during one of the games earlier this season that you were watching them play? Or maybe that was somebody else.
I watched.
They beat
them.
Michigan.
They were in the main event that Illinois is playing in next year in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
they were in it this year, and I watched them play Wichita State, and then the next night they played Michigan.
Yeah. They handled Michigan pretty good. So that's certainly something to think about. So yeah, Illinois will return home Saturday for that game. I look forward to the report from Craig on the environment at the State Farm Center. Are you more confident in a win there at home against Arizona?
No.
Or so are you expecting an 0-2 week this week?
Honestly, yes, I am.
Yeah,
I am.
I'm probably with you. I will certainly be happy with a win, either one of them. I think they're both winnable. I do think this team is good enough, but we haven't really seen that yet. We have seen it against some lesser opponents. So this will be the first real big test this team has played. Every team, even the losses they have not been against great teams. So we'll have to see. Illinois still has one of the best post players in the country, and they still have shooters around him, which is what we've seen in the past couple games. Can they keep that up against a team like Arizona? We will have to see. So that is this week in Illinois basketball. That game is Saturday, 5:00 Eastern on Fox. For those that aren't going to be in attendance, I will be on the campus of Notre Dame watching the Kentucky Wildcats take on the Fighting Irish, and I will be watching Illinois from my phone. And it's going to be wonderful. So yeah, that is Illinois basketball this week. Hoping for at least one win would be nice. I would be happy with one win, but as Craig said, I think going 0-2 is certainly not out of the question. But we will have to see what happens there. Other Big Ten basketball news this week: Mark Turgeon is out at Maryland. This was a shocker. I've seen some conflicting reports on this, but from what I understand, it sounds like he left on his terms. Yeah, he was not forced out. I've seen some conflicting reports with that, as I said, but from what I understand, that seems to be the case. A lot of people were surprised by this. Maryland has not really been great. I think Maryland expects to be better at basketball than what they have been really since they entered the Big Ten. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
This has not been the Maryland of the ACC that we remember growing up. Those Maryland teams were right up there with Duke and North Carolina, maybe not at that level consistently, but like right behind them. And they just haven't been that since they came to the Big Ten. Don't know how much Turgeon's to blame there. But either way, that was certainly some of the big shocking news from the world of college basketball this week, that he is out. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, stunned.
Shocked. Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. Weird timing too. Like 2 days before you open the Big Ten season, which I think they lost that Big Ten opener to someone. I was looking at the score, but yeah, just super weird timing. I didn't read too much into what happened. Oh, they lost today. They lost today to Northwestern.
Okay.
By 6 at home. So that says what you need to know about why this happened. The one thing I saw said that, just the wear and tear of the job had gotten to him, and that his heart wasn't in it anymore. So yeah, I think it probably helped that they had Danny Manning on the staff, who has coaching experience, that he can just plug in and act as the head coach the rest of the season, because he has done it before. So that was probably a silver lining for him to do it now. But yeah, I agree. They haven't been what people expect Maryland basketball to be in the last couple of years. I think they had one good season maybe with Melo Trimble and Anthony Cowan and what was the big guy's name? Jalen Smith, Stick Smith. Remember him?
Yeah.
That was just 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, it's just when you're not living up to expectations, and I know that the fan base has put some heat on him from what I was reading after it happened, that a lot of people were saying the fan base will be happy. So we'll see. I don't know how much a hit that the last couple of years has put on this prestige of the program. Where does it? I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember a couple of years ago? I was living in Champaign, so it was after 2015. John Gross was still the head coach, it was 15, maybe 16, 17, that me and you both ranked every college head coaching job basketball.
Yeah,
you remember that?
I do. Yep.
Did
you look back into this?
I did not. I was thinking of it the other day. Where would Maryland rank right now? Is it top 25, top 30, top 40?
I mean, you could probably make an argument for top 40, maybe. It's probably top 40. I would say it's definitely top 40. But it's definitely not 25, I wouldn't think. It's just kind of been an afterthought the last decade or so. I don't remember how long they've been in the Big Ten, but I mean, the Big Ten has been a pretty good basketball conference. They haven't produced a national champion, but they've been a pretty good basketball conference. And Maryland has just not really been consistently good in that time.
They moved to the Big Ten in 2014. So 2014, 2015 season. Their finishes in the Big Ten: second, tied for third, tied for second, 8th, 5th, tied for first in 2020, and tied for 8th in 2021. So had they had a postseason tournament in 2020, they were 24-7, 14-6 in the Big Ten. They were probably a 1 or 2 seed, 3 at the worst. Who knows? Maybe they make a run. They made the tournament in 2010 and then missed it in 11, 12, 13, 14. Then they moved to the Big Ten and they made the tournament every year except for 2018. But they only made the Sweet 16 once, and that was in 2016.
Yeah.
So
it's not been great.
It's not good enough for the Maryland fan base. So
no, certainly not. So that's Danny Manning, as we talked about. We'll take over for the time being, at least. We didn't even mention that the Big Ten ACC Challenge was this past week.
Yeah.
Illinois, over Notre Dame. Big Ten did win the challenge 8-6. So that's, something to celebrate. Is that the 3rd straight season I feel like that's happened?
I don't know.
At least a couple years.
After the whooping the Big East put on the Big Ten, it was nice to return the favor. Yeah. Although the whooping wasn't as big.
No. Other big thing of basketball news that kind of got buried yesterday because of everything else with college football, but do you see Gonzaga lost to Alabama?
Yeah.
In Seattle. Alabama, who of course had a pretty big day on the football field, also took down the number 3 team in the country, Gonzaga. Gonzaga has now lost 2 of their last 3 after losing to Duke last week or 2 weeks ago.
Speaking of the Big Ten ACC Challenge, Ohio
lost
State
as well to Ohio State. Yeah,
Duke after Ohio State football lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
Remember what you said about that game last week?
I know. Yeah. I was wrong.
I told you it was going to be a good game.
It's not that I didn't think it was going to be a good game. I just didn't really understand the matchups. I just didn't feel like they were. It's not matched up where it's the obvious best team against the obvious best team. Like I feel like it used to be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
should they wait to release the full schedule until like
I don't know
the start of training camp? Just like block off those 3 days for every Big Ten and ACC, and then
I don't really know that that's the case, but regardless, even when they did it, was there anybody that would have thought that? I assume that Duke was probably the favorite at the time for the ACC, but who would have thought Ohio State was the favorite for the? Again, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like the best against the best, but I don't think anybody really thought Ohio State was even the best 3 teams in the Big Ten going into the season. So, I mean, maybe before the Kofi thing happened, they might've been in that spot, but I don't know, whatever, not important. Ohio State did beat Duke. Big Ten wins the Big Ten ACC challenge. So that's fun. Anything else basketball? Io had a good night last night. Did you see any of that?
I did not see any of it live because I can't watch Bulls games unless they're on national TV. But I did see a stat line and saw the highlights and everyone freaking out over how good he's playing. I mean, he's not even close to winning Rookie of the Year, but I don't think there's a rookie in the NBA playing their role better than Io is right now. He's positive in the plus minus stat like every night. He was plus 16 last night, plus minus. And the next best Bull, I think, was like plus 5. Yeah. The other night, he was plus 21. Like, he's doing what they ask him to do. And that's how you cement your spot in the league is you play a role. And then eventually your role continues to grow. And then you just keep doing it. And you're going to have a long career. So I'm happy to see it. I really want to get to either Bulls game back when we're back in Chicago or maybe like drive up to Indy, but their games at Indianapolis are both, I think, on Friday nights, and Christy works early Saturdays. So we're not able to make those trips, but I'd really like to go see the Bulls play in person this year, but I don't know that it's going to happen.
Hopefully you'll have your IO jersey by then.
Dude, it still hasn't shipped. August 1st. Ordered it on August 1st, and it's December 5th, and it still has not shipped.
Yikes. All right, moving on. Baseball. The Major League Baseball lockout officially began this past week, but not until the Cubs signed Marcus Stroman.
Forgot about that.
Very excited. Listen, Marcus Stroman is, oh my God. Okay. Guess we're done. See ya. Craig's had enough of me. I love Marcus Stroman personally.
You too.
I'm a fan, and he's not like, Cy Young material. He's not a, top tier pitcher by any means, but the Cubs needed something, and just the addition of Stroman just shows the fans, at least, that the Cubs are actually going to try to do something. So whenever the lockout is over, whenever baseball resumes, whether that's a month from now or in freaking May, hopefully it's not May, but it just shows that they might actually like to contend. So happy to see that. Stroman said he had to rush to the airport at LAX to fly to Chicago so that he could get past his physical and all this stuff before the deadline, before the lockdown started, because once that started, then everything was out. So, so that was happen. That did happen. That was pretty cool to see. And then, yes, the lockout, the thing that we've been anticipating happening for a while, the CBA agreement that they have not been able to come up with, has forced them to this point. So as of right now, there is no Major League Baseball activity to be had. Players everywhere have removed their likeness from their Twitter handles because baseball has removed their likeness from the website. I don't know, whatever. I don't really have any strong feelings one way or the other right now, just because it's December. Check back with me in a couple months. If we're still in this position, I'm probably gonna have a lot of feelings. But as of right now, it's just kind of, whatever. It's basketball season and bowl season, so I'm not really even thinking about baseball. But it's not great. It's not great to think about, but hopefully they are able to resolve their differences and come to an agreement and figure out what they need to do so that we can have baseball in March and April. You agree?
Yeah, but backtracking to Stroman.
Yes.
What I don't like is that he immediately started recruiting Carlos Correa, who
yes, he did.
My favorite shortstop, if not one of my favorite players in the league. So if that happens, I'm not going to be happy.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is not me predicting that Carlos Correa is going to the Cubs. But as I said, the Cubs do not have a roster that's worth contending for. So if they're going to go out and sign somebody like Marcus Stroman to a 3-year deal, that has to indicate that they're going to try to do something. Because right now, that lineup, that roster as it's built right now, even with Marcus Stroman, is not a contender. It's not. So that tells me that they're going to try to do something. And I'm not saying they're going to go after Carlos Correa. Well, I'm sure they are. They're certainly in the mix for it. I'm not saying they're going to sign Carlos Correa, but it tells me that they're going to do something. Yeah. And he is right now makes the most sense because they have the money. They need help in the infield. That's the biggest thing, because now your 3 best pitchers in the rotation are Stroman, Hendricks, and Wade Miley, who are all ground ball pitchers. And that infield is not great as it stands right now. Frank Schwindel, Nick Madrigal, Nico Horner, and Patrick Wisdom is not a defensive infield to be behind that rotation. So they have to do something, and they're going to have to add a bat. So again, I'm not here to tell you that they're definitely going to sign Carlos Correa, but they are certainly going to do something since they brought in Marcus Stroman. Because if they weren't, then why would they even bother to give Stroman money? What's the point? Because if they're not going to contend, then they're just wasting their time.
I didn't think they had any money.
Oh, they have money. They traded it all away in July. They have nobody on the books right now other than one more year of Wilson Contreras and Jason Hayward and David Bodie. And I think Ian Happ and Kyle Hendricks after arbitration. I mean, it's like there's just not much on the books right now. So happy for the Cubs. Sucks for that we have the lockdown, the lockout. But we've been expecting this for a while. So
as far as the lockout goes, rich people suck, man.
Yeah.
Like, these owners suck.
Yeah.
The owners are absolute out of their minds because you claim you're trying to grow the game and you're trying to get people interested, and you pull this BS. Like, lockouts are not necessary at this moment in time. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, it's December. There's no need to lock them out right now. Like, if you don't have a CBA, I guess you have to get a CBA agreed to continue. But I don't know. I'm 100% on the player side. The owners are trying to get more money when they don't need it. No owner in Major League Baseball needs more money. I finally read an article Thursday, I think it was, about the issues at hand with the CBA and why they're being locked out. And it's over, the player control. These clubs control these players for so long and pay them pennies on the dollar of what they're worth until they're 29 years old, when they can finally hit the free agent market. Like, Chris Bryant wins Rookie of the Year in 2016, and he's still under club control for half of what he's worth 5 years later.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any kind of sense. So on the player side, I hope the players win this, because whatever. Did you see the whole different baseballs being used at different times story that came out this week?
No, I did not. Enlighten me.
I forgot who it was, but I saw somewhere, and it's just a report. It's not like, I don't think that this has been proven. So I don't even know if I should talk about it, but I'm going to, because it's interesting. So I guess the supply chain of the manufacturers of the baseballs like got halted because of COVID, and it was slow. And you know how MLB manipulates the balls sometimes. Some parks have more juiced baseballs and some deaden the ball and stuff. Somehow the two got mixed up and they weren't sure what balls were going where. Or like an umpire could pull a ball out of his pouch and it could be a juiced ball, and then the next one could be deadened. Or there's also a theory out there that they did know, and that they were giving the juiced balls to like the Yankees and the dead balls to like the Diamondbacks or whatever.
Oh, I did not see this. This is like somebody's actually reporting on this.
I don't remember the extent of it, but it was on a podcast or a show that I listened to, and I can't remember who it was, that they were talking about how these balls, they weren't, people weren't using the same ball for every ballpark or every at bat. Like in the 8th inning, they could throw out the juice balls because it was 0-0 or something like that. Like they were manipulating what ball was being used. Yeah. Again, I don't know the validity of it, but yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's something to keep of note. Yeah, did not see that, but wow, that doesn't surprise me. Okay. So that's cool. That's fun.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place. Just Google baseball used in MLB, and I see an NPR article, a baseball MLB trade rumors article. Yeah. So those are the first two that popped up. So.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at this. All right. Anything else from the world of sports you want to talk about?
Probably, but I can't think of it right now.
Okay. All right. Any TV news you want to talk about? Any trash TV? Any good TV? Any movies you watched? Anything? Did you see the new trailer for Spider-Man Across the Universe?
I did not see that. I did not see that.
Dope. A lot of Spider content.
I was going to say mine was going to be Spider-Man too. It was someone, I think it was on TikTok. Someone recorded like they went to buy their pre-sale tickets for, is it No Way Home?
Yes.
And like, it has the poster and it has the date and the time and the runtime. And then it says starring Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. So
there's a lot of that out there.
Kind of gave it away.
There's a lot of that out there.
Not that we didn't know that it was already happening, but
Marvel and Sony have yet to confirm that, but we will be finding out very shortly. I will be there on opening night.
I don't think we watched anything. We're trying to get caught up on Great British Baking Show. We've got one episode left of that. We watched Big Sky. I don't know if you watched Big Sky on ABC.
Like the Big Sky Conference?
Like the Big Sky Conference. It is in Montana.
Okay.
Caught up on that, but we haven't got caught up on Yellowstone because our DVR messed up and didn't record the last episode. So, but yeah, we didn't watch any movies or anything. So,
okay. All right. I did finally watch King Richard today. The Will Smith led biopic about the father, Richard Williams, of Venus and Serena Williams. Has been long talked about to be a Will Smith Best Actor nomination and potentially a win. And I'm happy to report that I agree. Will Smith has been long one of my favorites in the game. I've not seen all of his filmography, but really enjoy him as a personality and as an actor. And he's great in this movie. King Richard is excellent. It's a feel good crowd pleaser type of movie. He's great in it. All the actors are great in it. It's on HBO Max still for another couple weeks, and then it'll go away, but it's also still in theaters. So if you're interested in checking that out, also a sports movie. I thought it was actually a great sports movie. Tennis is like the major sport that I know the least about. Like, I don't know much about tennis. Short of like Mario tennis and Wii tennis. I played those games. I do not understand how tennis is scored.
You know more about hockey than tennis?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. That's awkward. But yeah, I literally know nothing about tennis. So it was still, I thought it was a great tennis movie. It's a lot of tennis action. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, King Richard, it's still out. Should give it a watch. If you have HBO Max, it's still on there for a couple weeks. Anything else, Craig, you want to talk about?
Do you want to give it a score? You've been talking about movies, but you haven't been giving them scores the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty high on it. It's about a 4.5. It's one of my favorites for the year. I don't know if it'll be best picture at the Logies. But it's certainly up there. It's up there with Dune and a couple others. As of right now, it's a 4.5, I think. Pretty happy with it. There's still a few more coming out that I'm pretty excited about. But I think that's probably, I think it's going to be at the top regardless, towards the top at least. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Plenty of movies still, and I'll be updating you as I watch those the next few weeks. And yeah, I think that's that. So,
trying to look through my Twitter to see if I tweeted about anything that we should talk about.
But tweet a lot.
I don't think so. Salukis lost football. So
we didn't even mention that. Yes,
Southern's over there.
Southern lost to North Dakota State. Yes, in the second round of the playoffs. So yes, that did end the season for the Salukis. It was fun. It was fun to follow that. Not really surprised. But yeah, that did happen as well. Trying to think if there's anything else that I want to talk about, but I'm just happy Cincinnati's in the playoff. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what's going to happen. They might get absolutely rolled, but I'm just happy that we're here. Happy that we got to this point.
I mean, I remember when the first rankings came out and everyone flipped like Cincinnati doesn't have a chance. All this tells us is Cincinnati doesn't have a chance. And the whole time I'm like, if they just keep winning, they will be fine.
Yeah. You were right. I will say you were right. I just think that I and a lot of people took that as the committee has no confidence in them.
Yeah.
Because at that point
they were expecting them to lose. They were ranking them like they were expecting them to lose.
Yes. They obviously got some help from teams around them that did lose. But they're there. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for us. Oh, you got more.
I mean, we don't have time to talk about it, but the transfer portal right now
for football. Yeah.
It has like over 1,000 players in it already. Last year at this time, It had like 600. It is going to be absolutely bonkers, which is good for Illinois because they're going to have chances to get guys, which they had a quarterback on campus this week that was reported. But
the kid from Syracuse?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito. Jersey guy. So
any predictions where Adrian Martinez goes?
I've seen Kansas State.
Kansas State. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's fun. All right, we're gonna shut it down.
Yep.
We've been doing this long enough. We'll have the show for you on Monday. So looking forward to hearing all the feedback from all the nonsense we talked about today. That's going to do it for episode 44 of No One Asked Us. As always, give us a follow on social media at No One Asked Us Pod, at Craig W. Choate, at The Logan Lee. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. We appreciate hearing, getting your feedback. We appreciate you sharing these, sharing our polls, sharing our quote or our question of the week, all that stuff. Shoot us an email if you have any questions or want to shoot us a comment at nooneaskedus2021@gmail.com. For Craig Choate, I am Logan Lee. This has been episode 44 of No One Asked Us, and we will see you next week after hopefully at least one Illinois basketball win. We'll have to see. 18 days till Christmas. Bye.